Hello, technology, innovation, and taxation. Two things that we love and one thing that we definitely can't avoid, right? I'll let you guys all decide for yourself as we kick off this next session. I am your host, Ronen Mense, Managing Director and President of mobile measurement company, AppsFlyer, here in APAC. And this segment, which has already become quite a regular series here at Wild Digital, is where we grill some of the most compelling CEOs and founders in the tech world today. And so without further ado, I want to bring in to the hot seat, the freshly minted unicorn, OnlinePajak, and the amazing person behind it, Monsieur Charles Guinot, the founder and CEO. Charles, bonjour.
Hi, Ronen. Wow, no pressure, no pressure.
Well, when we kick this off, I said we got to bring the energy, right? So you're 2 espressos in, and I'm, yeah. So great. Thank you so much for taking the time today. I know you're a very busy person, but you know, we understand that that you're operating basically in a, let's call it a fringe segment, right? Fintech, perceived by many as complicated, complex, which is of course tax filing, right? And maybe we can actually coin a new term right here to kick things off. Let's call it FinTax, right? And for the benefit of the general audience, please tell us about yourself and of course, what exactly OnlinePajak does.
I will try. So my name is Charles Guinot. I'm the founder of the company, and I've been in Indonesia for about 10 years. I really started this business because originally I faced, like I think quite a number of people, difficulties handling taxes. And so it really started very simply by just having a conversation with some tax officials and see if we could eventually do something about it. And if you think about it, our journey is very similar to the traditional fintech space. Fintech has been working with banks for quite some time. And at the beginning, there's been some conversations, should we do it in-house, should we not do it in-house? And now it's quite natural. And I think what we are doing is really exactly it's similar to what fintech has done with the banks. We are working very closely with the government to try to simplify the tax administration for the taxpayers in the country. Hopefully, by doing that, we can really increase the tax collection, which is a hot topic for the government. But really, this is really what we have at heart. We fight for taxpayers. We fight to make their life easy.
That's amazing. And I think basically you're fighting for everybody, right? So today's topic is understanding how the gears turn, and the gears today is your gears. And I feel that probably there's a lot of turning of the gears that, happens in the first years of business. Typically, like for any startup, you need to answer a pain point from day one, right? And so what is it that the pain point that you guys set out to address? And was there like a milestone decision that allowed you to move faster or further or ahead than you had originally planned?
I think we are in a sense, we are the opposite of what you can call a lean startup. It took us basically 2 years to be even allowed to launch our first product. So we really took some time to work with the regulators, to get alignment, to understand their needs, and to make sure that we are aligned with their pain points before we could even launch. And really, what I think you mentioned, it's the first year that is important for us. It's a long journey. We know we are in for a long journey. What we are touching is massive in terms of impact, in terms of pain. And it's something that we will not be doing overnight. It's really this. What is driving us on a daily basis, though, what is really pushing us to keep forward is really the feedback that we get from the customers. when we see a few messages that are saying what you're doing is actually really helping me, this is what's driving us. Of course, sometimes we have feedbacks that are less positive, and that's super painful. But when you do have a few feedbacks that what you're actually delivering is really helping someone, that is our motivation. That is our daily motivation, very clearly. It's not going to happen overnight, but we have the fuel, thanks to those feedbacks and thanks to those nice words, to keep on driving on a daily basis.
Right. So if you look back, because you guys were founded in 2015, was it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Was there like kind of a landmark decision that you made that you feel kind of altered the course or set the course for your company, right? Something significant that, you know,
I mean, the way it started, if I'm fully honest, basically I went to visit the tax office, and initially I was having some conversation with the lady at the front desk, who was telling me, who are you supposed to meet? Before I let you go up, who do you want to meet? And initially I answered to her, I don't know, because I have no clue who I'm supposed to meet. I just want to discuss if there would be a way to have a partnership. And that went on for 3 days, and every day I was coming back, and at some point the lady just let me in. She said, okay, but I don't care, just go up, but leave. And that was, I think, the turning point. I met some very good people and some wonderful people there that were very open and were actually quite supportive to what we were bringing. And that's really how it got started. I think this is the foundations of the company. If I would give a landmark, this is the foundation of the company. That's not going to happen in one day, but if you keep on going, it will happen.
Well, that's excellent, and I'm sure the tax officers were very happy to see somebody coming in and volunteering to pay tax, right? So now, hopefully, now we understand that, and you just said this earlier about, you know, getting feedback from your customers, and this is really in these type of businesses, right? That you are operating a SaaS, and it's something similar to what I'm doing at AppsFlyer, software as a service, right? You have to understand your customer pain point. And I think, you know, most of your customers, like today, are corporate, right? What has been the strategy around how you have acquired these customers and how it's evolved over the past couple of years?
I think initially we've been we've been very lucky to address a pain point that is really massive. I think that's the foundation. When you do launch a business, you need to make sure that you're really solving something big. And that for us was a lucky guess. A lucky guess, I would say. We are actually touching something that is really important for people, and therefore we never really had to fight to get people in. I think a lot of the acquisition we've had was done thanks to a word of mouth. The tax office itself recommended quite a number of the taxpayers to use our application, and people that were using it were recommending their friends. So we've been, I think, since the beginning, very, very lucky to have a good acquisition. But my analysis is that at the end of the day, we are really solving something big. If you want to do something very painful, I would say acquisition is not really going to be your problem.
Right, and so I guess you probably at some point hit what you would term for your business as hypergrowth stage, right? Where you the customers are coming, and now you have a good problem to solve, right?
Yeah, it's still a problem though. It's still a problem though. Making sure that you align everyone, making sure that you're able to answer and the real pain points and drive a product roadmap when you have so many requests and challenges is not always easy.
Yeah, I absolutely. I think that must be part of the fun in growing the business, right? Because you never always have happy customers. So
Unfortunately not. Unfortunately not. And
yeah,
that's a hard lesson to learn, though.
yeah. Well, it doesn't get any easier, trust me. Might be a couple of years ahead.
No, I don't
But
think so.
so specifically in terms of value proposition, I mean, you're faced with by a very strong prospect of like, what exactly do you bring to the table? Is it cost savings? Is it a seamless integration into payroll management tools? I mean, is it providing accessibility to more tax abiding, law abiding tax compliance? What is the value proposition that you guys bring?
We are, in fact, when you deal in the, again, we are very much B2B driven. We are more focused on helping companies, because the tax system in Indonesia is made in a way that it's really the companies that are compliant on your behalf. And those companies, the real problem they have is not necessarily just the tax, it's the way they handle transactions with their customers and their suppliers. Turns out that in a context like Indonesia, where you have a VAT, a withholding tax in place, it's actually super hard to do a transaction. And having end-to-end traceability on the calculation of the cash that you receive is really not straightforward. And we are very, very much focused on this. How can you have a good collaboration between your customers, your suppliers, and you? How can you have end-to-end traceability in that calculation of the net that you're supposed to receive is, I think, at the heart of what we do. In a way, what we are building is compliance as a byproduct. First and foremost, you do business in a very easy way, without the friction of handling the VAT, the withholding tax, and doing so, you will be compliant. And that's really the heart of our value proposal.
Great. And speaking of compliance, right? I mean, government regulation is, of course, a hot button topic everywhere now, especially when it comes to tech, right? Suppose that because your business is primarily around taxes, right? You must have a direct working relationship with the Indonesia Internal Revenue Department. I mean, they're in fact sending you customers, right? Can you describe this working relationship? What's it like?
I think it's been a journey as well. Very clearly, we've had some ups and downs. We clearly have a huge culture gap. And so it took a bit of time for both of us to adjust. And I think what is amazing, I would say, in that relationship is that really both parties evolved. Compared to what you could initially think, there are a lot of very good people in the tax office. I'm amazed how committed they are to their task, and how dedicated they are to their job, how much there is meaning into what they do. And that is something that we clearly respect. After we come from the private sector, and I would say almost the culture we have in a startup would be go fast and break things. When you're a regulator, you don't want to break things. And so there are those two words that sometimes initially collapsed, and it was not an easy one. But I think now we have really learned to respect each other, to work with each other, and I really enjoy the kind of relationship we have with the government at the moment. It's a relationship like any other. It takes time. It needs to be nurtured, and it needs a common understanding and making sure that at the end of the day you have the same goals, you have the same ambition.
Yeah, and I guess if we kind of take this up a level to not only the tax department, but Indonesia, right? I mean, it's considered one of the world's poorest performers when it actually comes to tax collection, right? So is this something that OnlinePajak, your business, are you consciously thinking about, as part of how you continue to address this, this as kind of a mission of the company?
It's 100% this. I think there is one study from the IMF that says if everybody starts to pay taxes in Indonesia tomorrow, we double the state revenue. So that gives you how much of an impact we could eventually have. Of course, if you have no money for the government, you have no roads, you have no education, and you have no healthcare. We have a thesis, and simply also because we are not the government and the regulators, so we don't necessarily have all the tools, but we have one thesis is that you need to make the thing very, 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 very simple. Nobody likes to pay taxes, but if on top of that, you need to go through hell to make it happen, for sure, you don't want to do that. I have one example that is quite striking to me. I was in the local tax office at some point, and we were helping them a bit on tax filing for some individual taxpayers. And there is this old man coming to the front desk, very humble, and starting to say, "I'd like to have a tax ID." And so the guy behind the counter, the tax officer behind the counter, started to say, "Yeah, no worry, now you can do it online. What is your email address?" And the old man said, "I don't have an email address, I have a phone number." Okay, so we're gonna create you an email address. And second question was, now, are you an individual or a taxpayer? And the guy was a Gojek driver. And even today, it's not very clear to me whether as a Gojek driver, you should record as an individual or a corporate taxpayer. And you see, in two questions, the guy just wanted to pay taxes, but in two questions, you have frictions. And this is the heart of our thesis. I think we can really bring a lot into the tax compliance, provided we make the life very, 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 very easy and the system very simple. This is our thesis, and this is the heart of what we do.
I guess this is known in the tech world as product market fit.
Hopefully.
Absolutely. I mean, it's creating simple solutions to complex world problems, right? And this sounds exactly like what you've done. So really amazing. And so I mentioned complex. Let's get into complex, because you guys have just got a fresh round of funding from some really, really awesome investors, and on the back of, you're going to realize a revolution in tax compliance through technologies like AI and blockchain. Are these just buzzwords, or are you really actioning on these initiatives here?
No, these are not just buzzwords. I still want to put a disclaimer that it will take time. Let me tell you a bit what we want to do. We have two ideas basically behind this. The first one is, what if tomorrow, when you pay your taxes, when you pay $1 of tax, you could have an end-to-end traceability to what is it going to be used for? What if you could know which book in which school has been bought with your dollar? And that is really what we are after. We need to bring meaning to the tax payment. We need to bring ownership to the tax payment. And if we can apply blockchain technology to providing end-to-end traceability into the collection and the spending of the government revenue, this is a revolution. The second thing we really want to do is a bit more technical. Let's look at how tax policies are made today. Most of the time, you would say, okay, VAT, 10% for everybody. And then you have immediately a bunch of lobbyists that are explaining why it should not be 10% for their industry. At the end of the day, you have one policy and a million of exceptions. Now, let's think about it in a different way. In today's world, you have so much power in big data, in machine learning and things like that, that you can actually think of a system where, if you've been paying your taxes on time for the last 10 years, should you really be paying the same rate compared to the guy that has been paying late systematically? if you've been hiring 300 people in the last quarter versus the guy that has been letting go half of the staff, should you be paying the same rate? And that is really the second revolution. If we can actually drive a fiscal policy that is managed at scale with millions of parameters and in a scientific way, not in a lobbyist way, these are the two real revolutions that we have in mind. I put the disclaimer because it will take time. Mm-hmm. We will never do that alone, and we need to embark the whole economy with us. But at the end of the day, I guarantee you we will deliver. It's so powerful in terms of impact, in terms of the way the economy, the citizen relationship with their government is, that we cannot not deliver. And that is the heart of what we are cooking, what we are discussing, what we are connecting, what we are pitching and spreading, because we will need to embark everyone on this.
This is amazing. And so I guess I would like to ask, and probably the audience is also curious, and maybe the world is curious, right? I mean, you guys are the new unicorn in Indonesia. What is the next gear? Are you going direct to consumer? Are you expanding geographically? Well, what's next for OnlinePajak?
I think, I mean, and that's the interesting part of working with the regulator, is that they think also on a much bigger scale than us. Ultimately, in Indonesia, you have 56 million companies. Today, you have less than 1 million that are really compliant. So how can we get the whole, and likewise, I'm not even talking about individual taxpayers, 270 million people, 900,000 of them are actually paying their taxes on a yearly basis. So how can we scale it? How can we make it really take the proper dimension? Today, we are just scratching the surface of the topic. It's a long journey, but we will deliver, no doubt. But it's still got to be a long journey.
That's great. There's a question from the audience that maybe we want to get to, because the reason, they're a great supporter of this event. How difficult was it for you to understand the taxation process at the beginning, especially when trying to build and develop an app to solve this challenge?
It is hard, and honestly, we have yet to fully understand the taxation process. I come from a robotics background, a process engineer background, so that's how I think. I don't know much about the tax regulations. I've had to learn some of them along the way, but we always think of it as a system, as a machine, as an IT tool, not necessarily as a tax application or as a tax regulation thing. We look at some rules that need to be embedded into the code, and we code it. And we don't necessarily need to have the full picture of all the millions of regulations that are produced on a yearly basis.
Well,
luckily,
a robotics engineer. I mean, I would have, had I not known, I would have thought that you're like a E&Y tax consultant who has founded this business.
Not my background.
Not your background. That's amazing. So I'm sure some people actually want to know, who is the real Charles Guinot? So I've prepared some rapid fire questions to wrap this session up. Are you up for that?
Let's try.
Okay, let's try. So if you weren't in tech, what career would you be in now?
Retired.
Retired? Okay.
Yeah. I'll always be exploring new things. I think that's my definition of retirement. I would be studying forever.
Excellent. And what's the first foreign destination that you're going to visit once this pandemic is over and we can travel freely?
Probably Italy. I would love to discover a bit more of Europe.
And what is the best thing about Indonesia after living there for 10 plus years?
The people, clearly the people. They are so nice. it's so different, you know, from for a French guy, having people smiling on a daily basis is a huge difference. And it just makes your life happy on a daily basis.
And so here might be a loaded question. What's your favorite food?
I'm still French on that side. I think I still like the foie gras, the bread, the baguette, and these kind of things.
Wow. I would never pass up a good rendang or a sop buntut.
It's good as well.
Yeah, those are my dream foods. And so what book would you recommend any aspiring entrepreneur?
One book that for me is very, very good is called Lean Analytics. You have everything in it. All the types of business models you can think of have been described, have been explained, and you have all the KPIs in it. It's a perfect summary of what you would be doing anyway.
Great. And my last question for you is, did you hire that lady at the reception desk who told you?
No. No. At the end of the day, she was very nice. But I didn't have to hire her.
All right. I think our time's up. That's a wrap. Thank you so much, Charles, for your time. And I hope the audience enjoyed today's session, or grilling session, should we say.
Thanks a lot, Ronen.
Thank you.